You're not gonna believe what happens in this story. Seriously, if you think you know your family, if you think you know who you can trust, you need to listen to this. It starts with a betrayal so cold, so heartless, it'll make your blood boil. But just wait, because the revenge. Oh man, the revenge is sweeter than anything you could ever imagine. You have to stick around until the very end to see how a quiet, gentle husband turned the tables on the people who tried to ruin him. Trust me, you do not want to miss the secret behind the wall. It was pitch black, the kind of darkness that feels heavy, like it's pressing against your eyes. The air was stale, smelling of old cardboard and damp concrete. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might actually crack a bone. I was shaking, not just from the cold, but from the shock. The absolute, paralyzing shock of it all. I reached out, my hands trembling, feeling for the rough texture of the cinder block wall. "James," I whispered, my voice cracking. "James, are you there?" I heard a shuffle in the dark, a calm, steady breath. "I'm here, Emily," he said. His voice wasn't shaking, it wasn't scared, it was weirdly peaceful. "They locked us in," I sobbed, the reality finally crashing down on me. "Our own son, Liam, he actually locked us in the basement. How could he do this, after everything we did for him?" I could hear the footsteps upstairs. Heavy, frantic footsteps. The sound of furniture being dragged. They were already taking over. They were already erasing us. "James, we're gonna die down here," I cried, panic rising in my throat like bile. "They're gonna leave us here to rot." I felt James's hand find my shoulder in the dark. His grip was firm. "Quiet, Emily," he whispered. And then he leaned in close to my ear, so close I could feel the warmth of his breath. "Quiet, they don't know what is behind this wall." I froze. What are you talking about?" "I have a secret," he whispered, a hint of a smile in his voice. "A secret I've kept for 39 years. But before I tell you what James did, before I tell you about the secret that changed everything, you need to understand how we got here. You need to understand the level of betrayal we're talking about. Because to understand the satisfaction of the ending, you have to feel the pain of the beginning. James and I, we're simple people. We've lived in this house for 40 years. It's a nice place, a 2-story colonial in a quiet suburb just outside of Chicago. Nothing fancy, but it's ours. Every brick, every beam we paid for with sweat and sacrifice. James worked double shifts at the plant for 20 years, and I took in sewing and cleaning jobs just to make sure we could pay the mortgage and put food on the table. We didn't take vacations. We didn't buy new cars. Everything went into the house, and into Liam. Liam, our beautiful blue-eyed boy. We named him Liam because it sounded strong, a protector's name. We thought he'd grow up to be a good man, and for a long time he was. He was the kid who brought stray cats home. He was the kid who mowed the neighbors' lawns for free. But people change. Or maybe the right person just brings out the worst in them. That person was Sophia. Liam met Sophia about 2 years ago. She was flashy. That's the best way I can describe her. She liked expensive things. Designer bags, shiny cars, dinners at places where a salad costs $30. I tried to like her. I really did. For Liam's sake, I pasted a smile on my face every time she walked through the door, looking down her nose at our worn-out sofa and our old-fashioned curtains. "Oh, Emily," she'd say, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "This place has so much potential. You just need to gut it. Get rid of all this old junk." "This old junk is my life," I wanted to say, but I didn't. I just smiled and offered her some iced tea. Things started going downhill fast about 6 months ago. Liam lost his job. He said it was corporate restructuring, but I had a feeling it was something else. He'd been showing up late, leaving early, trying to keep up with Sophia's lifestyle. They couldn't make rent on their fancy downtown apartment anymore. So naturally, they came to us. "It's just for a few weeks, Mom," Liam said, standing on our porch with 4 suitcases and a look of desperation. "Just until I get back on my feet. Sophia and I, we have nowhere else to go." What could we do? He's our son. You don't turn your back on family. James was hesitant. He's always been a good judge of character, and he never really trusted Sophia, but he nodded. "All right, son, the guest room is yours." A few weeks turned into a month, then 2, then 3, And let me tell you, it wasn't like having a guest. It was like an invasion. Sophia took over the kitchen immediately. She threw out my spices because they weren't organic. She complained that the fridge was too loud, that the water pressure in the shower was too low, that the floorboards creaked too much. I can't sleep in this dump, I heard her screaming at Liam one night. It smells like old people. My heart broke a little every day. But James just watched. He's a quiet man. He doesn't say much. He sits in his armchair, reads his newspaper, and watches. I used to think he was passive. I used to think he was just letting them walk all over us. I didn't know he was planning. I didn't know he was calculating. The tension in the house was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Liam changed. He stopped looking us in the eye. He stopped calling me mom and started calling me mother, like I was some stranger. He spent all his time whispering with Sophia in the guest room. When they came out, they looked at us like we were pests, like we were in the way. Then came the day of the talk. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I had made meatloaf. Liam used to love my meatloaf. We were sitting at the dinner table, the silence stretching out between us. Sophia was picking at her food with a look of disgust. So, Liam started, clearing his throat. He didn't look at me. He looked at the tablecloth. Sophia and I have been thinking. That's dangerous, James mumbled into his coffee. It was the first thing he'd said all dinner. Liam glared at him. We've been thinking about the future. This house, it's too big for you too. You're getting older. The stairs are dangerous. The maintenance is too much. We're doing just fine, Liam, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Your father just fixed the gutter last week. It's not about the gutters, Mother, Sophia interjected, rolling her eyes. It's about assets. This house is a wasted asset sitting here gathering dust. Liam and I have a business opportunity, a huge one, but we need capital. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. What are you saying? We want you to sign the house over to us, Liam said, just like that. No emotion. No hesitation. We can take out a loan against it, invest in this business, and make millions. We'll put you guys in a nice facility, assisted living. It'll be safer for you. A facility, I whispered. You want to put us in a home? This is our home, Liam. It's for your own good. Liam slammed his hand on the table. You're selfish. You're sitting on a gold mine while your son is struggling. Do you know how humiliating it is to live with your parents at my age? Then move out, James said. His voice was low, but it carried across the room like thunder. He put his fork down slowly. If you don't like it, leave, but we are not signing over this house. Not now, not ever. Sophia stood up, her chair screeching against the floor. I told you they wouldn't listen, Liam. They're senile. They don't care about you. That is enough. James stood up too. He's almost 70, but he's still a big man. You will not speak to my wife that way in her own house. Pack your bags, both of you. You're leaving tonight. I had never seen James so angry, but I had also never seen Liam look so hateful. It was like a switch flipped behind his eyes. He wasn't my son anymore. He was a stranger, a desperate, greedy stranger. We're not going anywhere, Liam spat. That night, the air in the house changed. It went from tense to dangerous. I locked our bedroom door for the first time in 40 years. I lay awake listening to them packing downstairs, arguing, plotting. They won't sign, Liam. We have to force them, I heard Sophia hiss as they walked past our door. I can't hurt them, Liam whispered back. They're my parents. Do you want to be poor forever? She snapped. Do you want to be a loser? We need that deed. Once we have power of attorney, we can do whatever we want. I clutched James's arm. James, did you hear that? They're going to try to take the house. James just patted my hand in the dark. Go to sleep, Emily. Let them try. I didn't sleep a wink, and the next morning, the nightmare began. I came downstairs to make coffee, just trying to keep things normal. Liam was already in the kitchen. He was leaning against the counter, holding a piece of paper. Sophia was sitting at the table, smiling, a cruel, shark-like smile. Morning, Mother, Liam said. Good morning, I said cautiously. Liam, about last night. Read this, he said, shoving the paper at me. It was a legal document. Power of attorney, transfer of deed, it was all there. I'm not signing this, I said, pushing it back. You don't have a choice, Sophia said, standing up. She walked over to the back door and locked it. Then she put the key in her pocket. Where's your father? Liam asked. I'm right here, James said from the doorway. He was wearing his old flannel shirt and his work boots. He looked ready for a fight. Dad just signed the papers, Liam said, his voice shaking slightly. Don't make this hard. We have a notary coming in an hour, just sign it, and you can stay in the guest room until we find a facility. Get out of my way, James said, stepping forward. That's when Liam shoved him. My heart stopped. My son, my baby boy, put his hands on his father's chest and shoved him hard. James stumbled back, hitting the wall. Stop it, I screamed, rushing forward. Liam, stop. Sophia grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. Shut up, old woman. You're going to do what we say. It turned into a blur of shouting and shoving. Liam was strong, much stronger than James now. He wrestled James toward the basement door. You need a timeout, Sophia laughed. It was a manic, crazy sound. Cool off in the cellar until you're ready to cooperate. Liam, please, I begged. Don't do this. But he wasn't listening. He threw the basement door open. Get in, both of you, now. They forced us down the wooden steps. James tried to hold the door, but Liam kicked his hand away. We tumbled down into the darkness. Slam. The door shut above us. Then the sound of the deadbolt sliding home. Click. And then silence. I stood there at the bottom of the stairs, staring up at the sliver of light coming from under the door. Dust motes danced in the beam. I couldn't breathe. My lungs felt frozen. Liam, I screamed, pounding on the wood. Liam, open this door. It's your mother, please. Sign the papers when I come back down and I'll let you out, Liam yelled from the other side. Until then, enjoy the dark. I heard their footsteps walking away. I heard Sophia laughing. That was easier than I thought, she said. I slid down the door, collapsing onto the cold concrete floor. I buried my face in my hands and wept. I cried for the son I lost. I cried for the house we built. I cried because I was terrified. The basement was cold, unfinished. Just piles of old boxes, a furnace that rattled, and walls of gray cinder block. We were trapped. No phones, no way out. Just two old people locked in a box by the people who were supposed to love them. That's when James walked over to me. He didn't look defeated. He didn't look sad. He looked determined. He helped me up and brushed the dust off my shoulder. Stop crying, Em, he said softly. How can you be so calm? I sobbed. They're going to kill us, James, or starve us until we sign. We've lost everything. James shook his head. He looked around the basement, his eyes scanning the far wall, the wall behind the old furnace. It was a brick wall, painted white years ago, now peeling and dirty. We haven't lost anything, James said. In fact, I think it's finally time. Time for what? I sniffled, wiping my eyes. Time to show you why I bought this house 40 years ago, he whispered. I looked at him like he was crazy. We bought this house because it was cheap and near the school, James. What are you talking about? That's what I told you, he said. That's what I told everyone, but that's not the real reason. He walked over to the far wall. He knelt down near the corner where the shadows were deepest. He ran his hand along the bricks, counting them. 1, 2, 3. James, what are you doing? I asked, my fear turning into confusion. Liam and Sophia think they're smart, James muttered. They think they've cornered us. They think they know this house. He looked back at me, his eyes twinkling in the dim light. But they don't know about the previous owner, and they definitely don't know what he left behind. He found a specific brick. It looked exactly like the others. But when he pressed his thumb into the mortar on the right side, something clicked. A tiny, mechanical click that echoed in the silent basement. My jaw dropped. James. Come here, Emily, he waved me over. You need to see this. I walked over slowly, my legs feeling like jelly. James gripped the brick and pulled. It didn't just come out. It slid forward on a smooth, hidden track. Behind it wasn't dirt. Behind it was a keypad, an electronic keypad, glowing with a faint green light. A keypad, I gasped. James, how, when? 39 years ago, I found a blueprint in the attic, James explained, his voice low and hurried. The man who built this house, he was a paranoid man, a wealthy man who didn't trust banks. He built a vault, Emily, a hidden room right here in the foundation. A vault, I repeated, but what's inside? James looked at me, his face serious. I never opened it. I never had the code. I spent 5 years trying to crack it, and then life got busy. We had Liam. We had bills. I forgot about it, or I tried to. So it's locked. I felt my hope deflate. Great, so we have a locked vault to stare at while we starve. No, James grinned. I didn't say I never found the code. I said I never opened it. I found the code written in a Bible in the attic the day before I retired. I've been waiting for the right moment. I thought maybe I'd use it for our anniversary. A surprise. He looked up at the ceiling, listening to the thumping of Liam and Sophia moving furniture upstairs. But I think this is a better time, he said grimly. He punched in a code, 1984. Beep. A heavy thudding sound came from inside the wall. Dust fell from the ceiling. The entire section of the brick wall, about the size of a door, popped open an inch. Help me pull, James said. Together, we gripped the edge of the heavy secret door. We pulled. It swung open on silent, well-oiled hinges. A rush of cool, dry air hit our faces. I peered inside. It wasn't just a safe. It was a room, a small, concrete room. And in the center of that room, sitting on a metal table, was a single, large wooden chest. And on the walls. My breath caught in my throat. James, I whispered, are those? Yes, he said. Lined up on shelves along the walls of this secret room were stacks of green metal boxes, ammo crates, but they weren't for bullets. One of them was open. I stepped closer, my eyes adjusting to the light coming from a single, old bulb that flickered on automatically. The box was filled with cash, bundles of it, old bills, dusty but real. There must be millions here, I whispered, terrified. James, whose money is this? Is it stolen? Does it matter? James asked, looking at the money and then back at the basement door where our son had locked us in. It's ours now, but that's not the best part. What's the best part? James pointed to the wooden chest in the center. That, he said. The note I found in the Bible said the money was just the distraction. The real treasure, the real power is in that chest. I reached out to touch the chest. It was warm wood, polished mahogany. We have a way out, Emily, James said, his voice hardening. Not just out of this basement, but out of this life. We can disappear, we can go anywhere. We have the means now. But what about Liam? I asked, tears springing to my eyes again. He's still our son. James looked at me. The son we raised didn't lock us in a basement, Emily. That man upstairs, he made his choice. Suddenly, the basement door at the top of the stairs creaked. Hey, Liam's voice echoed down. You guys ready to sign yet? Sophia's getting impatient. James grabbed my arm. Quick, into the room, close the door. What? Trust me, he hissed. We're going to play a game with them, a game they can't win. We stepped into the secret room. James pulled the brick wall shut from the inside. It clicked into place, leaving no seam. To anyone outside, it was just a solid wall. We were hidden, inside the walls of our own house. Now, James whispered, turning to the wooden chest, let's see what's really in here. He lifted the lid. And what I saw inside made me gasp louder than the money. It wasn't gold. It wasn't diamonds. It was a surveillance system. A bank of small, black and white monitors flickered to life. James, I stared at the screens. He was paranoid, remember, James said. He wired the whole house, every room, every hallway. I looked at the screens. I could see the kitchen. I could see the living room. I could see Liam and Sophia. They were popping a bottle of champagne. They were celebrating. Cheers to the new owners, Sophia yelled, clinking her glass against Liam. To us, Liam smiled, a smile I had never seen before, a cold, greedy smile. I watched them on the screen, safe in our secret room, surrounded by millions of dollars. They think they've won, James whispered. He reached out and flipped a switch on the console. A microphone hummed to life. Now, let's have some fun. This is where the story really starts. You think being locked in the basement is the twist. No, the twist is that we are now the ghosts in the walls. And Liam and Sophia, they're about to experience a haunting they will never forget. Do you want to know what we did to them? Do you want to see how we used the money and the cameras to turn their lives into a living nightmare before the final, happy ending? James sat in front of that bank of monitors like a captain on a submarine. The glow of the black and white screens reflected in his glasses, hiding his eyes. But I knew what he was looking at. I looked too. And what I saw broke my heart into a million jagged pieces, but it also did something else. It forged those pieces back together into something harder, something sharper. On the center screen, vivid and clear despite the graininess of the old camera, was our kitchen. The kitchen where I had taught Liam how to bake cookies. The kitchen where James and I had coffee every morning for 40 years. Sophia was leaning back against the island, holding a crystal flute of champagne. That champagne, we had been saving that bottle. It was from our 25th anniversary. We were saving it for a special occasion. I guess stealing our house counted as special to her. I can't believe they actually fell for it, Sophia laughed. The sound came through the speakers on the console crisp and sharp. I mean, I knew they were old, but I didn't think they were that stupid. Liam was packing back and forth. He looked sweaty. He looked nervous. Good. We shouldn't have locked them in, Liam muttered, taking a huge gulp of the wine. That's a felony, Sophia. That's false imprisonment. If the neighbors hear. Oh, stop whining, Sophia snapped. She walked over and ran a hand down his chest. Nobody is going to hear. The basement is soundproofed. Remember, your dad bragged about that insulation for years. And besides, who are they going to tell? Once they get hungry enough, they'll sign the papers. We'll drop them off at that state facility on the east side, sell this place, and be in Miami by next week. The state facility, Liam paused. I thought we were putting them in that nice private home, the one with the garden. Sophia rolled her eyes. Liam, do the math. The private home costs $5,000 a month. That cuts into our profit margins. The state facility is free. Who cares if it smells like bleach and cabbage? They won't know the difference. They're practically vegetables anyway. I gasped. I covered my mouth with my hand, tears stinging my eyes. Vegetables, I whispered. I just did her taxes for her last month because she couldn't figure it out. James reached out and turned the volume knob up slightly. His jaw was set so tight I could see the muscle twitching. He's not going to sign, Sophia, Liam said, refilling his glass. My dad is stubborn. He's like a mule. He'll sit in that dark basement for a week just to spite us. Then let him rot, Sophia said coldly. We have the power of attorney paperwork drafted. If something unfortunate were to happen to them down there, like a fall down the stairs or a heart attack from the stress, well, as next of kin, you get the house anyway. It might actually be easier. The air in our little secret room went ice cold. She was talking about killing us. Not directly, maybe, but she was hopping for it. She was hopping we'd die in the dark so she could buy a condo in Miami. And Liam, my son, he didn't scream at her. He didn't throw her out. He just looked down at his drink and sighed. I just don't want to go to jail, Sophia. That was it. That was the moment the mother in me died and something else took over. He wasn't worried about my life. He was worried about his freedom. James turned to me. He saw the look on my face. You okay, Em? No, I said, my voice steady. I'm not okay, I'm angry. James nodded slowly. Good, hold on to that. He turned back to the console. Because we're about to make them wish they'd never set foot in this house. We spent the next hour exploring our new home. The secret room was surprisingly well-stocked. The previous owner, the paranoid man, had thought of everything. There were shelves of canned food. Some of it looked a bit old, but there were newer crates too, military-style rations that looked like they'd last a century. There was a small cot in the corner with wool blankets. There was a tiny, closet-sized bathroom with a chemical toilet and a small sink that worked on a pump system. We weren't going to be staying at the Ritz, but we were safe. And we had the money. I walked over to the shelves of cash again. It was mesmerizing. I picked up a bundle, $10,000 wrapped in a paper band. There were hundreds of these bundles. James, I asked, how much is here? I did a rough count while you were looking at the bathroom, he said, tinkering with the microphone settings. It's close to $4 million. $4 million? I nearly dropped the bundle. We're rich. We've been rich this whole time. James, I've been clipping coupons for toilet paper. You drove a car with no air conditioning for 6 summers. Why didn't you tell me? James stopped what he was doing and looked at me. His eyes were soft. Because money changes people, Emily. Look at what the idea of money did to our son. I wanted us to be happy. I wanted us to live a good life because we loved each other, not because we were comfortable. I was saving this for an emergency. I guess I always feared a day like this might come. He was right. Of course he was right. If Liam had known about this money growing up, he would have been even worse. So what do we do? I asked. Do we call the police? We have phones down here. I pointed to an old rotary phone on the wall. James picked it up and listened. Dead line, he said. The wires must have rotted or been cut years ago. We can't call out. So we're trapped, I said, feeling a spike of panic. No, James smiled, a wicked little grin I hadn't seen since we were dadding. We're not trapped. We're waiting. And while we wait, we're going to play. He pointed to a row of switches on the console. They were labeled with handwritten stickers. Kitchen, master bed, hallway, basement. These control the audio, James explained. This system isn't just for listening, it's a two-way intercom. But it's hidden. The speakers are built into the walls behind the vents. They won't be able to see where the sound is coming from. He flipped the switch labeled basement. Watch the screen, he said. On the monitor, we saw the basement door, the one at the top of the stairs, open. Liam was coming down. He had a flashlight in one hand and the legal papers in the other. He looked terrified of the dark. Mom, Dad, he called out, his voice trembling. Look, I brought you some water. I'm not a monster. Just sign the papers and you can come upstairs and have a hot shower. He walked down the wooden steps, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the gloom. He reached the bottom and swept the light around. Mom. He moved toward the center of the room. He expected to see us huddled in the corner, crying. He expected to see us broken. But the basement was empty. Just the old furnace, the stacks of newspapers, and the dusty holiday decorations. Dad, Liam's voice went up an octave. He spun around, shining the light into every corner. Where are you? He checked behind the furnace. Nothing. He checked under the old workbench. Nothing. We were right there, just on the other side of the brick wall, watching him on the screen. He was so close I could almost feel his panic radiating through the cinder blocks. This isn't funny, Liam yelled. Come out, there's nowhere to go. The windows are painted shut. He ran to the small basement windows, high up on the wall. They were covered in years of grime and completely sealed. There was no way we could have squeezed out of them. Sophia, Liam screamed, running back up the stairs. Sophia, come here. We watched on the kitchen monitor as Sophia groaned and put down her champagne. What is it now? Did the old man have a heart attack? They're gone. Liam burst into the kitchen, his face pale as a sheet. What do you mean, gone? Sophia frowned. Gone where? Did they evaporate? The basement is empty. Liam was hyperventilating. I checked everywhere. They aren't there. You're an idiot, Sophia spat. She grabbed a heavy flashlight from the drawer. I'll find them. They're probably hiding behind some boxes trying to trick us. We switched our attention back to the basement monitor. We saw Sophia stomp down the stairs, her heels clicking loudly on the wood. She marched around the basement like a warden. She kicked over boxes. She shoved the old coat rack. Come out, you old bats, she shrieked. I know you're down here. Silence. She stopped in the middle of the room. She looked around slowly. The fear started to creep into her face, too. It's one thing to be cruel, it's another to be confronted with the impossible. 2 70-year-old people don't just vanish from a locked room. Liam, she whispered, looking up the stairs, did you leave the back door unlocked? No, I checked it twice, Liam yelled down. Well, they aren't here. Sophia backed away toward the stairs, keeping her flashlight pointed at the shadows. This is weird. She ran back upstairs and slammed the door, locking it again, just in case. James chuckled. Phase 1 complete, now for the fun part. He flipped the switch labeled kitchen. He leaned into the microphone. He didn't shout. He didn't speak normally. He lowered his voice to a raspy, breathy whisper. Liam. On the screen, Liam dropped his glass. It shattered on the floor. Did you hear that? Liam gasped, spinning around. Hear what? Sophia asked, looking up from her phone. She was probably looking up how much she could get for my jewelry. Someone said my name, Liam whispered. It sounded like Dad. Your dad is gone, Liam. They escaped. They're probably halfway to the police station by now, Sophia snapped, though she looked uneasy. We need to pack. If they bring the cops, we need to be gone. No, Liam said. No, it sounded close. It sounded like it came from the walls. James nudged me. Your turn. I hesitated, but then I remembered the vegetables comment. I remembered her laughing about us dying. I leaned into the mic. Sophia. Sophia jumped out of her chair. Okay, I heard that. Who is doing that? Is that a speaker? She started looking around the kitchen, pulling at the cabinets, looking under the table. You're a bad person, Sophia, I whispered, channeling all my hurt into the microphone. Greedy, so greedy. Shut up, Sophia screamed at the ceiling. Come out and face me, stop playing games. We aren't playing, James whispered into the mic. We're watching. Liam backed up against the fridge. They're in the house. Sophia, they're in the house somewhere. They're watching us. Get the knife, Sophia ordered, grabbing a steak knife from the block. They're trying to scare us. They're probably in the attic or the crawl space. For the next 3 hours, we watched them tear our house apart. It was satisfying in a sick kind of way. They checked the pantry. They checked the guest room. They ripped the clothes out of our closet. They climbed into the attic, coughing in the dust. Every time they entered a room, James would flip the corresponding switch and make a noise. A scratch, a thud, a whisper. When they were in the master bedroom, looking under our bed, James whispered, Get out of my room. Liam scrambled backward so fast he tripped over his own feet. I can't do this, he cried, curling into a ball on the rug. This house is haunted. Maybe it's not them, maybe it's the house. Don't be stupid, Sophia hissed, though she was gripping the knife so hard her knuckles were white. Ghosts don't exist. They are hiding. And when I find them, I'm going to make them regret it. They eventually retreated to the living room. They pushed the sofa against the wall so no one could sneak up behind them. They turned on all the lights. It was getting late, about 2:00 a.m. We were tired, but the adrenaline kept us awake. They're cracking, James observed. Look at them. Liam was shaking. Sophia was packing, chewing her fingernails. We can't stay here, Liam said. Let's just go to a hotel. And leave the house, Sophia argued. If we leave, they come back out, change the locks, and we lose everything. We have to hold the ground, Liam. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Possession of what? A haunted house, Liam shouted. Suddenly, we saw blue and red lights flashing through the living room curtains on the screen. Cops, James said. Who called the cops? I did, Liam admitted to Sophia on the screen. While you were in the attic, I told them my parents were missing. I had to. If they are dead somewhere, we need to look like the concerned family, not the suspects. You idiot, Sophia slapped him, a full, hard slap across the face. You invited the police in. If they find them, we go to jail for kidnapping. They aren't here, Liam yelled back, holding his cheek. We looked everywhere, maybe they wandered off. The doorbell rang. We watched as Liam composed himself. He smoothed his hair, put on a fake sad face, and opened the door. 2 officers stood there. Mr. Miller, one officer asked, you reported your parents missing. Yes, officer, Liam said, forcing a sob. They have dementia. We looked away for 1 second and they were gone. We've searched the whole house. We're so worried. May we come in and look around? The officer asked. Please, Sophia said, stepping up behind Liam. She put on a perfect act. She looked like the grieving daughter-in-law. Please find them. It's so cold outside. The officers walked through the house. We watched them on the monitors. They checked the same places Liam and Sophia had checked. They shone their flashlights in the closets. Then the tall officer stopped. He was standing right in front of the basement door. Have you checked down here? He asked. Yes, Liam said quickly. Multiple times, it's empty. Mind if I look? The officer asked. Go ahead, Liam said. We held our breath in the secret room. The officer walked down the stairs. He was heavy. We could hear his boots thudding above us. He walked around the basement. He walked right up to the brick wall. He tapped on it with his baton. Tap, tap. Solid, he muttered. He shone his light around one last time, then headed back upstairs. Clear down there, he told his partner. Well, folks, if they aren't in the house, they must be on foot. We'll put out a bolo. Do you have a recent photo? Liam handed them a photo from our anniversary party last year. James and I were smiling, holding hands. It hurt to see it. We'll do our best, the officer said. Try to get some rest. We'll call if we find anything. The police left. As soon as the door clicked shut, Sophia turned on Liam like a viper. You nearly got us caught, she hissed. If they had found them. But they didn't, Liam threw his hands up. Because they aren't here, I told you they are gone. They can't be gone. Sophia grabbed a vase from the side table and threw it across the room. It shattered against the wall. People don't just disappear. There has to be a secret passage or something. This is an old house. James turned to me. She's smart, evil but smart. What if she finds the brick? I asked. She won't, James said. But we need to accelerate the timeline. They're getting desperate. Desperate people do dangerous things. What do you mean? I mean, James said, we need to drive them out tonight. He turned back to the console. He flipped every single audio switch to ON. Ready? He asked me. Ready, I said. James leaned into the mic and began to hum. He hummed a low, mournful tune. It was an old lullaby I used to sing to Liam when he was a baby. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. On the monitors, the effect was instant. The sound filled the entire house. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Liam covered his ears. Stop it, Mom. Sophia looked around wildly. Where is the speaker? Where is it? She started ripping the vents off the walls. She grabbed a fireplace poker and started smashing the drywall in the living room. I know you're in there, she screamed, hacking at the wall. Dust flew everywhere. Come out. You're destroying my house, I whispered into the mic. That's going to come out of your inheritance, Sophia. AHHH. Sophia swung the poker wildly, hitting the TV. It cracked and sparked. They're in the walls, Liam yelled. I told you they're in the walls. Then we'll tear the walls down. Sophia's eyes were manic. She looked possessed. I am not leaving this house without that money. I am not going back to being poor. She ran to the kitchen and grabbed the heavy toolbox Liam had left on the counter earlier. She pulled out a hammer. Liam, get the sledgehammer from the garage, she ordered. What? Why? We're going to smash every wall in this house until we find them, Sophia roared. You're crazy, Liam yelled. Do it, she screamed. Liam ran out to the garage. We saw him on the garage camera. He grabbed the big sledgehammer, the one James used to break up concrete. He dragged it back into the house. Start in the basement, Sophia commanded. That's the last place we saw them. That's where the trick has to be. My blood ran cold. James, I said, gripping his arm. If they start smashing the basement walls, they'll hit the brick. They'll find the mechanism. James watched the screen, his face grim. They might. We have to do something. We will, James said. He stood up and walked over to the heavy wooden chest. He opened a small drawer at the bottom that I hadn't noticed before. He pulled out a revolver. It was old, a snub-nose .38. James, I shrieked. You are not going to shoot our son." "I'm not going to shoot him," James said calmly, checking the cylinder. It was loaded. "But I am going to defend us. If they break through that wall, Emily, they aren't coming in to hug us. Sophia has a knife. Liam has a sledgehammer. They think we're the only thing standing between them and millions of dollars." He was right. I looked at the screen. Liam and Sophia were heading down the basement stairs. Liam was dragging the sledgehammer. Sophia had the steak knife in one hand and the flashlight in the other. They looked like killers. They looked like monsters from a movie. "Check the foundation walls," Sophia ordered. "Start hitting them." Liam swung the hammer. Bam. It hit the cinder block wall opposite us. Dust rained down. "Harder," Sophia yelled. Bam. Liam swung again. He was working out his frustration, his fear. He was taking it out on the house. "Try the other wall," Sophia pointed. She pointed right at us, right at the false brick wall. "James," I whispered, terrified. James stood in front of the door, the gun at his side. "Get behind me, Emily." On the screen, Liam turned. He looked at the wall that hit us. He lifted the sledgehammer. "This one looks different," Liam panted. "The paint, it's slightly different." "Smash it," Sophia commanded. Liam pulled the hammer back. He grunted as he swung it with all his might. I squeezed my eyes shut. Crash. The sound was deafening. It shook the room. Dust exploded from the hidden door. "James," I screamed. "Hold on," James said steadily. We heard them outside. "It sounded hollow," Sophia yelled. "Liam, hit it again, it's hollow." "I knew it," Liam yelled. "I knew they were here." He raised the hammer again. "Open the door," James said to me. "What?" I looked at him crazy. "Open the latch," James ordered. "If they smash it in, the mechanism will jam and we'll be stuck in here with them. We have to open it on our terms." "But they have weapons." "So do I," James said. "Do it, Emily, now." Liam was winding up for the second swing. I reached out with trembling hands and pulled the lever that released the magnetic lock. Click. The section of the brick wall popped open just as Liam was about to swing. He lost his balance, the hammer swinging wildly and missing the wall, smashing into the floor. The door swung wide open. James stepped into the doorway, the bright light from our secret room spilling out into the dark basement like a spotlight. He stood tall, the revolver held low but visible. Liam scrambled back, falling on his butt. "Dad." Sophia froze, the knife raised in her hand. She squinted against the light. "What the hell?" "Hello, Liam. Hello, Sophia," James said. His voice was calm, dangerous. "Welcome to my office." Liam stared at the room behind James. He saw the shelves. He saw the money, piles and piles of cash. His eyes nearly popped out of his head. Is that money?" Liam stammered. "Millions," James said coolly. "It's been here for 40 years, right under your feet." Sophia's eyes went wide. The greed washed over her fear instantly. She lowered the knife slightly, a smile creeping onto her face. A sickening, hungry smile. "Millions," she breathed. "James, Dad, we were just worried about you. We were looking for you." "Cut the crap, Sophia," I said, stepping out from behind James. I stood next to my husband. I didn't have a weapon, but I had my dignity back. "We heard everything. We saw everything." I pointed to the camera lens, hidden in the corner of the basement ceiling. Liam looked up. He looked sick. You watched." "We watched you toast to our death," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "We watched you call me a vegetable. We watched you plan to throw us away like garbage." "Mom, no, it was just talk," Liam pleaded, getting to his knees. "We were stressed. We need help." "You need help, all right," James said, "but not the kind we can give you." Sophia took a step forward. She was eyeing the gun. She was calculating. "James, listen, we're family. There's so much money there, enough for everyone. Why don't we just start over, We can forget all of this." "Start over," James laughed. It was a dry, harsh sound. "You locked us in a basement. You tried to steal our home, and now you want a cut." "We deserve a cut," Sophia shouted, her mask slipping again. We are your heirs, it's our money eventually anyway. Not anymore, James said. I'm changing my will tomorrow. Every penny goes to the cat's shelter. You wouldn't, Sophia snarled. She tightened her grip on the knife. You old fool, give me that money now. She took another step. Sophia, stop, Liam said, reaching for her leg. He has a gun. He won't shoot, Sophia yelled. He's weak. He's a pathetic old man who... Bang. The gunshot was deafening in the small concrete room. Sophia screamed and dropped the knife. She wasn't hit. James had fired into the concrete floor, inches from her expensive high heels. The bullet ricocheted with an angry whine. The next one doesn't miss, James said. His hand wasn't shaking. Back away. Sophia stumbled back, hyperventilating. Liam was crying now, full ugly sobbing. Get upstairs, James commanded. Into the kitchen, sit at the table, hands where I can see them. Dad, please, Liam blubbered. Move, James roared. They scrambled up the stairs, tripping over each other. James motioned for me to follow. We walked up the stairs, out of the darkness, and back into our home. But the story doesn't end here. Oh no, because just as we got them into the kitchen, just as we thought we had control, the doorbell rang again. And this time, it wasn't the police. It was someone much, much worse. Someone from the past. Someone connected to that money in the basement. James looked at the door, his face going pale for the first time all night. Don't answer it, he whispered. But Liam, seeing a chance for rescue, screamed at the top of his lungs. Help! In here, help us! The front door burst open. The front door didn't just open, it was kicked in. The wood splintered around the lock, sending shards flying across the entryway. Standing in the doorway was a man. He wasn't a police officer. He wasn't a neighbor. He was huge, wearing a long dark coat and a hat pulled low. He looked like a storm cloud that had just walked into our living room. Behind him stood two other men, younger but just as intimidating. They stepped inside, shaking the rain off their coats. James, the big man said. His voice was like gravel grinding together. He didn't look at Liam or Sophia. He looked straight at my husband. James lowered the gun slightly, but he didn't put it away. Michael, James said. It's been a long time. I looked at James, confused and terrified. You know him. He's from before, James said quietly. From when I found the blueprint. Liam and Sophia were frozen at the kitchen table. Sophia's eyes were darting between the gun in James's hand and the new intruders. She looked like a trapped rat trying to figure out which cat was safer. We heard a gunshot, Michael said, stepping further into the room. He looked around at the mess, the smashed TV, the holes in the walls from Sophia's rampage. Looks like a party. Family dispute, James said tightly. It's under control. Is it? Michael chuckled. He walked slowly toward the kitchen. Because from outside, it sounded like someone was screaming for help. Help us, Liam blurted out again, desperate. He has a gun, he's holding us hostage. Michael glanced at Liam with pure disdain. Shut up, kid. He turned back to James. I'm not here for your domestic issues, James. I'm here because a silent alarm tripped about 4 hours ago. An old frequency. One we haven't seen active since 1984. My stomach dropped. The keypad. When James entered the code, it must have sent a signal. The vault, Michael said. You opened it. I did, James nodded. That money isn't yours to keep, James, Michael said, his tone hardening. You know whose money that was. You know the organization that left it there. The organization is gone, Michael, James said. Disbanded 20 years ago. The man who built this house is dead. That money is a ghost. Ghosts have a way of haunting people, Michael said. He signaled to the two men behind him. We're taking the contents of the vault, and we're taking these two as insurance. He pointed at Liam and Sophia. No, Sophia screamed. I don't know anything, I just want to leave. You know about the vault now, Michael shrugged. Loose ends. Wait, James stepped forward, raising the revolver again. Nobody is taking anything, and nobody is taking my family, even the bad parts of it. Michael raised an eyebrow. He didn't seem scared of the gun. "You gonna shoot me, James? You're a factory worker, you're a nice guy, you don't have it in you." "I locked my own son in a basement tonight," James said, his voice cold as steel. "I watched them tear my house apart. I'm not the same guy I was yesterday, try me." The room went silent. The tension was so thick I could hardly breathe. Suddenly, sirens wailed in the distance. Loud ones, getting closer fast. "We called the police hours ago," Liam shouted. "They're coming back." Michael cursed under his breath. "Cops!" He looked at James, then at the flashing lights reflecting in the window. "This isn't over, James, but I'm not going to jail tonight for this mess." He signaled his men. "Let's go." "Michael," James called out as they turned to leave. "The money, I'm donating it, all of it, to the city. It's going to build parks and schools." Michael stopped. He looked back, a strange expression on his face, almost respect. "You always were a Boy Scout. Fine, burn it, give it away, just don't spend it on yourself. That money is cursed." "I know," James said. The three men vanished into the night, just as the police cruisers skidded into the driveway. The officers rushed in, guns drawn this time. They saw the broken door, the smashed house, James holding a gun, which he quickly placed on the table, and Liam and Sophia cowering. "Drop the weapon," the officer yelled. "It's down," James said, raising his hands. "Everything is okay." "Okay," the officer looked at the destruction. "Sir, your son said you were missing. Now we find this. What is going on?" James looked at me, then he looked at Liam. Liam looked back, pleading with his eyes. "Don't tell them," he mouthed. "Please." If James told the truth, that Liam locked us in the basement, that Sophia tried to kill us, they would go to prison for years. Kidnapping, elder abuse, attempted murder. James took a deep breath. He put his arm around me. "Officer," James said slowly, "we had a misunderstanding. My son and his wife, they found out about a surprise I was planning. They got excited. Things got out of hand. The damage, well, we were doing some demolition anyway. We're renovating." The officer looked suspicious. "Renovating with a sledgehammer at 3 a.m. "We're night owls," I piped up, squeezing James's hand. "And the gun, my husband was just showing it to our son. It's an antique." Liam slumped in his chair, relief washing over him. Sophia looked like she was about to faint. "And the 911 call about screaming?" the officer asked. "We were watching a horror movie," James lied smoothly. "Volume was too high." The police didn't buy it completely, but without a victim pressing charges, there wasn't much they could do. They lectured us on noise, took a report about the break-in, which we blamed on vandals, and eventually left. As soon as the police were gone, the silence returned to the kitchen. But it wasn't the same silence as before. It was the silence of judgment. James picked up the gun and put it in his pocket. He looked at Liam and Sophia. "Get out," he said. "Dad," Liam started. "No," James cut him off. "I saved you from prison just now. That was my final gift to you as a father. But you are not my son anymore. Not really. You chose greed over family. You chose her over us." He pointed at Sophia. "And you," James said to her. "If I ever see you on this property again, I won't call the police. I'll call Michael." Sophia flinched. She grabbed her purse. "Let's go, Liam. This place is crazy anyway." Liam stood up. He looked at me. "Mom." I looked at him. My heart was sore, but my eyes were dry. "Goodbye, Liam. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, because it's not here." They left. They didn't pack their bags. They just walked out the front door, got into their car, and drove away. James locked the broken door as best he could and shoved the heavy armchair in front of it. He turned to me. He looked exhausted. He looked old. "Well," he sighed, "that was a night." "James," I said, walking over and hugging him tight. "What do we do now? The money, Michael said it was cursed." James kissed the top of my head. "He's right. We don't need it, Emily. We never did." The next morning, the sun rose over our battered house. It highlighted the dust, the holes in the drywall, the shattered TV. But it also lit up the kitchen where we were drinking coffee. I have an idea, James said. What? Let's fix the house, he said. Not with the money, with our own hands, like we did 40 years ago. And the money? James smiled. I called the mayor this morning. An anonymous donor is funding a new community center downtown and a new wing for the animal shelter. I smiled back. That sounds perfect. But there was one thing left. James, I said, we still have the secret room. What are we going to do with it? I'm going to brick it back up, he said, but not before I take one thing. He went down to the basement one last time. He came back up holding a small, velvet pouch from the wooden chest. I didn't tell you everything that was in the chest, he said, his eyes twinkling. He opened the pouch. Inside was a ring. A vintage diamond ring, not huge but beautiful, pure, sparkling light. I found this in the bottom of the chest, James said. I think the previous owner left it for someone he loved, but never got to give it to her. He got down on one knee, right there in our messy kitchen, amidst the drywall dust and broken glass. Emily, he said, we've been through hell and back. We survived poverty, we survived raising a child, and we survived being locked in a basement by that child. And through it all, you never left my side. Tears streamed down my face, happy tears this time. Will you marry me? Again, James asked. Yes, I cried. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. We spent the next year fixing the house. It was hard work, but it was good work. We painted over the holes. We replaced the drywall. We bought new furniture, not expensive stuff, just comfortable stuff. We never heard from Liam or Sophia again. Rumor has it they moved to Nevada, chasing some other get-rich-quick scheme. I hope they find peace, but I don't worry about them anymore. Because James and I found our peace. One sunny afternoon, about a year later, we were sitting on our front porch. The house looked beautiful. The new coat of yellow paint shone in the sun. The flower beds were blooming with tulips. A young couple walked up the driveway. They looked nervous, holding hands. The woman was pregnant. Hi, the young man said. We saw your house. It's beautiful. We're looking for a place to raise our baby. James and I looked at each other. We aren't selling, James said kindly. The couple's faces fell. Oh, okay, sorry to bother you. But, James continued, we are looking for tenants for the guest suite. We just renovated it. It's got a nursery. The young woman's eyes lit up. Really? How much is the rent? How much can you afford? I asked. Not much, the man admitted. I just started at the plant. James smiled. That's exactly enough. We took them in. Their names were Noah and Olivia. They were sweet, hardworking kids. They reminded us of us 40 years ago. When their baby was born, a little girl named Ava, we became like grandparents to her. We babysat. We cooked dinners together. The house was filled with laughter and life again. And the secret room. James bricked it up just like he said. He sealed it tight. Nobody knows it's there. Nobody knows about the cameras or the sensors or the history. Except sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, James and I will sit in the living room holding hands. We'll look at the spot on the wall where the secret monitor used to be, and we'll squeeze each other's hands. We don't need millions of dollars. We don't need a mansion in Miami. We have our home, we have our new family, and we have the best secret of all. We know that the real treasure wasn't behind the wall. It was sitting right next to us on the porch swing all along. Hey, James, I asked him one evening as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Yeah, Em. Did you really give all the money away? James grinned, that mischievous sparkle returning to his eyes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 plane tickets. I might have kept just enough for a second honeymoon, he winked. Hawaii, first class. I laughed, a loud, joyful sound that echoed down the street. You old fox, I said, kissing his cheek. Pack your bags, Mrs. Miller, he said. We're going on an adventure. And as we sat there, watching the stars come out over the house that love built, I knew one thing for sure. We won. We really, truly won. And we lived happily ever after, with a big, huge smile.